Hi, I'm Greg Linnemanstons. I'm president of Weidert Group, and I want to welcome you to the first episode of the ChangeOver, a podcast from Weidert Group. A little bit of background on the name that we came up with. We were talking about how much change is hitting marketing and salespeople, especially in what we focus on, which is the industrial space, and we came up with the ChangeOver because that's what happens in a lot of manufacturing plants. They have to change over lines, and they have to do it fast. They have to eliminate the friction. They got to get really good at it. And what our industry is experiencing right now is a changeover where the old playbook, we think, isn't working the way it used to. At least it isn't working the way we saw it work 13 years ago when we got into inbound marketing and got in with HubSpot as a partner. We actually had a conversation recently about this, and we started talking about it's a lot like the arms race that countries get involved with as technology evolves. And for a while, there wasn't that much of a race mentality in our industry because inbound was working really well, and everybody who adhered to it benefited from it. And now change is happening fast, and things that used to work aren't working, and new technologies and products are coming out, and they have merit, but we don't know much about them. And so we really thought this is a great platform for us to share what we're seeing, have some real open, honest conversations about what we're learning, and hopefully deliver some insights to anybody who watches and listens. And also, we want to make one of our principles that we'll listen to the audience, that we encourage you to let us know what's on your minds. Now, I guess, is a great time for me to introduce the two guests I have today. Two people from our team, Weidert Group team, two longtime teammates that I've leaned on and given the credit they deserve for helping grow our business. And that's Nicole Mertes, who's our VP of Marketing and Sales, and Frank Isca, who's our Director of Business Development and Product Development. I guess the first question is your view on what you hope to share with the audience over time as we do this podcast.
For me, I go back to my experience before Weidert Group. I was in advertising sales, and that was a very transitional time, very challenging due to disruption. And I think we're seeing some of that same transition with the industrial clients that we have in marketing and sales now. And when I look back at that time, some of those moments were very exciting because it was a time of exploration. And a lot of sharing took place. And I think that's what this podcast is about. It's about sharing with everyone and learning from everyone as we all explore.
Yeah. Frank, what about you?
Yeah, I think for me, there's so much noise out there right now on does the old playbook still work? What is the new playbook? AI has flipped things on its side. And with that, it's made some things easier, some things more difficult. And I think industrial marketers need a central source of information they can trust. We're reading a lot. We're listening to a lot of different podcasts, talking a lot in our industry. We host events, and we learn a lot from speakers at those events, really trying to distill down what we're learning and sharing it with this audience.
We've had a lot of conversations about the good old days, about when we started in inbound marketing. It was 2011. We were brand new HubSpot partners, and it was an exciting time. What are your memories of the good old days? What was it like to start with a new client and to talk about how it worked and what our expectations were?
Well, when I started, it was 2015. Both you and Frank and the agency had been working on inbound, and you taught me about inbound. I came from a world of more traditional marketing and advertising. And when I learned about inbound, I remember in one of my interviews, you showed me your computer screen And on the computer screen, you showed me all these leads that were on there that you just couldn't get to, all of these visitors to the site. And you knew something about these visitors on the site. And that was just really mind-blowing to me, because coming from a background in sales, no one ever handed me leads, or there were never any warm leads. So that was something that I knew I could get really excited about, and I could share with others and help build with others.
What about you, Frank?
For me, the good old days go back to when we made a decision to go all in on HubSpot and inbound marketing. And part of that was changing how we approached our own marketing. We were very known in our region, and we said, well, we need to start a blog. We need to start putting out our thought leadership. And it was a big commitment by our team. We were a smaller team back then, and I think we contributed to publishing daily, if I remember correctly. And we quickly started to see the traction we started getting as far as traffic and recognition. And all of a sudden, this little agency out of Appleton was getting found on all corners of our country with clients we've never met in person that wanted to talk to us about helping them doing what we were doing.
Yeah.
So just an exciting time that we were able to transform pretty quickly. There was this more blue ocean opportunity. There was less noise. Not as many people were publishing content. Not a lot of agencies like us had made that pivot. It was pretty exciting to see pretty quickly the impact that it had. And now there's, we'll talk about the now, but it's not as easy as it was when we started. The good old days were definitely, if you were consistent and dedicated and authentic with your content, you could see the winnings behind that.
So we would never have admitted it then, but it was easy. There were a lot of things that were easy that if you did the right things.
If you followed the script.
If you followed the script, it was going to work. Your traffic was going to take off. Your leads were going to take off. And you were going to have good opportunities.
Yeah, we used to be able to rely, and our clients could rely on true organic. Those true rankings that you earn through publishing great content and organic social media. Feels like now it's very much pay to play. You have to have some type of mix of paid advertising if you want to get found, because organic alone is not going to do that. And then social media channels have started to learn how to monopolize on the mass audience that they're bringing in. And part of that is you have to pay to advertise to get more exposure, more awareness. So that's definitely something that has changed. Is you can't rely solely on that organic factor. It has become a monetized system where you're going to have to do some form of advertising, typically, to get found.
Yeah. Nicole, what about you? What if you were talking to a client or a prospect today? How would the expectation setting be different?
Mm-hmm. Well, I certainly think inbound still has a place, right? Inbound isn't dead. It's evolving. And we're learning how it's evolving over time here. And I don't think that's something we learn overnight. So we have to find other ways to really get in front of our buyers and prospects. And that runs the gamut of paid ads. It's more account-based marketing plays, for example. It's evolving inbound to really think about what we're creating from a content standpoint and how we do content marketing. I think there's just a lot of changes, and you really need to understand your audience, and you've always needed to understand your audience, and then explore different things for you, because best practices are great, but they'll only take you so far. You really have to learn what works for your company. So it starts with understanding your audience, understanding where they are, and what resonates with them, understanding their journey and being really helpful. We've seen for clients, organic inbound traffic
still works.
It's going to fill your pipeline and it's going to fill your funnel. It still works, just not as much as it did before. So if you're not getting the quantity and quality of leads that you need for your pipeline, then where else are we going to get it from? And how are we going to change what we're currently doing to be more impactful?
I think it really depends on the client's industry and what they're up against as far as their competition. Yeah. And then the other is we're seeing the power of brand. If you have a solid brand and good brand awareness, brand reputation, that can help carry a lot of other things. as far as your organic rankings, how you perform in paid. Nicole
Makes paid work harder.
Yep. Nicole mentioned account-based marketing. We see a lot of clients that have a strong brand and good brand awareness. Their ABM efforts work a little bit better because you do have that solid standing to work off of.
Yeah. What does a conversation look like? We haven't talked a lot about the whys, about what's happening right now. We got a lot of clients who, if you tell them we got to change a playbook, they do want to know intimately.
A couple of things come to mind. Buyer behaviors are changing, but they're always changing, right? We've seen even years ago there's less of buyers on your website, for example, filling out forms to get content, right? So a lot of ungating, right?
Yep.
And that's just one example. And so you're always focused on buyer behaviors. Those are always changing. But I think the big one is AI. And I think that's going to be a theme in a lot of these podcast episodes, is how AI is impacting just about everything in marketing, from how you do it to what you do. So AI has had significant impact already and will continue to in the way you go about marketing and sales.
AI not only has had an impact on people's behaviors, but how platforms are adjusting. So we've seen how Google is pivoting to how ChatGPT surfaces information and answers. Now in Google, you get an AI generative response, which it's going past the zero-click search. It's giving searchers what they're wanting. Kind of a similar ChatGPT experience where they get an answer right in the SERP without having to click. So brands are feeling this, companies are feeling less traffic to their site because depending on their content strategy, people are getting answers right in the SERP. You need to find ways that what can be unique about your content, no matter where that lives, that it's going to provide a different flavor than what they could just get out of a generative search. So telling customer stories, firsthand perspectives, that's the stuff that's really going to compete and stand out. So people need to start making those pivots to their content strategy.
I think that the way we think about content has changed because of AI. So AI can do really well with commodity content. So a how-to article, for example, AI, great for that. But what AI isn't is it's not human. So it can't speak from human experience and human insight and human perspective or point of view. So how does your content change so that we fill in where AI can't, right? Yep. Really valuable thought leadership kind of insight content based on the experiences you have, for example, with a product or your service that you have, where you can offer up advice that's going to be really interesting to your targets.
So where trust really comes from,
right,
and where reputation really comes from,
credibility, right? That's much easier to.
And really, the flagship vehicle right now to do that is video. I think now you have to lead with video in some component. It's the best way a lot of people feel to show your expertise, show your thought leadership, put your SMEs kind of on the front lines versus relying on text-based content. That's another user behavior we've seen change. People like short-form video versus reading long-form articles. It's more digestible.
So what advice would you give industrial sales and marketing people today, if you had to capsulize it into advice to have impact on their business growth?
Well, I think one of the biggest pieces of advice is we are in this transitional, time of exploration and of change. And so you're going to be most successful if you go in with a continuous learning mindset, one where you're going to explore A, B, C, D. Some of those are going to work. Some of those aren't. You need to make sure you make smart choices and informed choices about what you're going to do. But then take a look at the data, track the data, analyze it, adjust as needed, so that you're constantly optimizing and exploring, again, what's right for you, where your audience is, what's resonating with them, where you're seeing the biggest impact. And there's no simple formula for that. So if you don't go in with this mindset of, I need to test, I need to explore, I need to try, and adjust as needed, I think it's going to be a real slow slow go for you.
Yeah.
Frank, I know in BD you run into this all the time with prospects asking for the ROI of the investment.
Yeah.
How do you answer that today?
Well, we have so many ways to track ROI and what's working. I think what's changed is the amount of time. People maybe want that easy button. They want to know, okay, what's their quickest way to get the ROI that we're looking for as far as our growth. And in this buying landscape, in this economy, things are taking longer. So it's not pulling the plug too quickly. And it's going in with a very sound strategy. And as Nicole mentioned, knowing your audience and doing some good audience research and going into it with, hey, we're going to have to experiment with some things. So it's looking at what are some leading indicators that what we're doing is working. Maybe we don't have sales yet, but hey, we're bringing in more traffic. We're starting to build an audience. People are engaging. We're getting leads. Sales starts to feel good about those leads. Maybe they haven't closed yet, but maybe there's other factors there. So with everything we have at our grasp to track all this, I think it's just being patient and knowing, okay, what are we going to track along the way to know if we're getting traction before we pull the plug and say, yeah, we didn't get enough sales from this, so it must not work.
So on the one hand, the old playbook isn't working with as much confidence as it used to. There's not a direct causality. We know we have to try stuff, and at the same time, we've got better technologies for understanding the impact, for doing attribution, for trying stuff quickly. So getting those tries in to see what's working. But at the same time, we're in an economy where a lot of people are doing wait and sees, a lot of long involved buyer journeys.
Yes.
There's a lack of confidence that committing at any one point in time is the best thing to do. Let's share with our audience some of the stuff that we're going to promise to talk about in future episodes, because right now we're skimming along at 50,000 feet. What are we going to talk about in future episodes?
I know we're going to be talking about the importance of your website and how that has continued to evolve.
Yeah.
I know there's debate of, do you even need a website these days? If people are engaging so much in social and other platforms, we feel confident that you do need a website, and others in the industry feel that same way. But what's the role of a website in this landscape, and how do you optimize a site? So that'll be something we'll be talking about, is that continued importance of the website.
Yeah, and as its role changes, so does its design.
Yes.
And maintenance.
Correct.
I'll just say we've been having so many team meetings, sharing meetings internally within our agency to talk about the latest. And there's a new thing to talk about just about every single day. So I think the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
But to add to what Frank talked about with websites, it's also about SEO, right? Is SEO dead? How is SEO changing? How much focus do you put on it? And what does that look like? AI's impact on just about everything, not just how we do work, but how, what our marketing and sales efforts look like, video, different channels, different tactics, different approaches, what's working for some and not others. And I think there's so many things to explore of, hey, this used to work this way. It's not working the same today. And I think that's the whole premise of this podcast, is to explore how all the facets of marketing and sales for industrials are changing, and how we share and quickly learn from each other to be successful.
Well, that's a perfect place to wrap things up. The idea that everything's changing, and it goes back to why we're calling this the changeover. Because, everything's changing. It's changing fast. And we've all got to be committed to learning and learning fast. And, with that, I'm going to give a plug for a couple of episodes that are also available now as we roll this out. And that's the role of the website. How is it changing, and how is it responding to the changing landscape? And then does SEO matter anymore? I got goosebumps thinking about that because SEO has been so dependable for us, and we've got to think about, does it matter anymore? So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you'll give our other episodes a look. And please let us know what you want us to talk about because we're listening. Thank you.